Muslim power continued to grow as Christian leadership weakened. In 1291, Muslim forces laid siege to Acre, the greatest of the Christian strongholds in Palestine. The Christian knights were greatly outnumbered and were utterly destroyed. The result was that the Christians had lost their last effective army. A responding crusade was never able to be formed. The 14th century lacked strong popes that would call and support a great general crusade. Smaller crusades were attempted, but they would now be wars of defense against the enemies of the faith, rather than pilgrimages. With the rise of the Ottoman Turks in the mid-1300s, it was no longer faraway Palestine that was in danger, but Western Europe itself. Crusaders had always seen themselves as fighting a defensive war, defending the Christians in the East, Jerusalem, or the faith. Now they were called on to defend themselves. Henceforth, Crusades were no longer wars to expand Christendom, but desperate attempts to slow the advance of Islam. Crusading had become a matter of simple survival. In crusades such as that of Nicopolis in 1395 and Varna in 1444, the Christian army was crushed by the Turks. In 1453, after a 2-month siege, the great Christian city of Constantinople fell to the invading Turks. The greatest Christian church in the world, the Hagia Sophia, was converted into a mosque. One place where Christian Europe had success in defending themselves was in Spain. After 7 centuries of warfare, in 1492, the Reconquista, the reconquest of Spain, was complete. In the early 16th century, Pope Leo X made a final attempt at a serious crusade, but no crusade happened. The Protestant Reformation further divided Christians. For Protestants, crusading was impossible, for it presupposed obedience to the Pope, the unity of Christendom, and the spiritual benefits of indulgences. Really, the first major victory of the Christians against the Ottoman Turks was the naval battle of Lepanto in 1571. The feast of Our Lady of the Rosary marks the anniversary of this crusade victory. By the 17th century, Europe was undergoing great expansion, forming colonies outside Europe itself, so the Turks were really no longer a threat. Even smaller crusade campaigns were at their end. With crusading over, what became of those military orders? Back in 1291, with the loss of all the Crusader States in the Holy Land, many blamed the military orders. Remember, the Knights Templar had gotten involved in banking services for pilgrims to the Holy Land. King Philip IV of France, seeking to seize their wealth, ordered the arrest of all Templars in France in 1307. Under torture, Templar leaders were forced to admit a host of sins and crimes. Those who refused to confess were burned at the stake. Under extreme pressure from King Philip, Pope Clement V was forced to suppress the Knights Templar in 1312. The order, established by Christian knights taking the vows of poverty, chastity, obedience, and the protection of pilgrims, was no more. The Knights of the Hospital of St. John, or Hospitallers, became known better as the Knights of Malta, after the island upon which they were stationed. Their military function ended when Napoleon captured Malta. The Teutonic Knights also still exist, being headquartered in Vienna. Today, both the Knights of Malta and the Teutonic Knights are still doing what they were originally created to do: charitable works and care for the sick.